Hey guys, let's get into the ancient Telangana history. Before getting into any topic, first we need to understand the syllabus and analyze the previous year questions. Only then we will get to know the pulse of each topic. Alright, let's go through the syllabus of ancient Telangana history. History and culture of ancient Telangana. Whenever it is shown here like this, it means this is the title. This is the title of this section. Sorry, this is the title of this chapter. Okay, and each chapter we have a title, and also there are several sub points to it. In each section we have the 5 chapters. So first, this is section 2 of the paper 2, and this section 2 deals with the history of Telangana. The paper 2 section 1 deals with Indian history, and paper 2 section 2, that is this section which we are starting now, deals with the Telangana history. In that, the first chapter deals with the ancient Telangana. In ancient Telangana, we have 3 important dynasties: the Shatavahanas, the Ikshvakus, and the Vishnukundins. In these 3 dynasties, Shatavahanas is of extreme importance. You cannot expect a paper in the history of Telangana without the question on the Shatavahanas. And as far as Vishnukundins and Ikshvakus are concerned, you have to look at them with generic details. You don't have to delve deep into Ikshvakus and the Vishnukundins. The main important thing is that of the Shatavahanas. Right. Next, we have to look into the rise and growth of Buddhism and Jainism. You see, Shatavahanas succeeded the Mauryans in the peninsular region. So, during the time of the Shatavahanas, there was Buddhism and Jainism, and there was considerable influence of Buddhism. So, this is also an important thing, to know the rise and growth of Buddhism and Jainism. And when it comes to Shatavahanas or Ikshvakus or Vishnukundins, what we have to see is, we have to see their socio-cultural conditions. Just we have to delve into the socio-cultural conditions. In that socio-cultural conditions, we have to look at the social aspect, the economic aspect, and the cultural aspect. When we say the cultural aspect, it includes the language, literature, art and architecture, and religion. Let us say, for example, we are reading about the Shatavahanas. Then in the Shatavahanas, what we will read is, we will have a standard introduction for us, which includes the time in which the Shatavahanas ruled, and other important facets. We will look into it, how we should write introduction, how we should write the conclusion, how we should write the body. We will look into it. And in the body, what we need to read about Shatavahanas is, we need to read its social aspect, we need to read their economic aspects, we need to read their cultural aspect. Cultural aspect includes the language, the literature, the religion, and the art and architecture. Alright, so for each dynasty, we need to look these aspects. for the Shatavahanas, for the Ikshvakus, and for the Vishnukundins. And apart from this, we need to look at the rise and growth of Buddhism and Jainism. Okay, so as far as paper 2 is concerned, we have 50 marks for Indian history, 50 marks for Telangana history, and 50 marks for Indian and Telangana geography. So right now, this series which we are going to start, it deals with the Telangana history, which is 50 marks. And in this series, we will look at how to write the answers in the mains. See, in mains, everything is about the revision and recollection. For that, you need to have minimum content, you need to have the quality content, and you should not compromise on your memory. So for that, in this series, I am going to give only the crisp required quality content with which you can easily write any question on this topic. Any question, I repeat, any question with considerable amount of quality, and I will give you such short material which you can easily memorize. So let's dive into it. So let's get into analyzing the previous year questions. So till now, only one mains has occurred as far as TGPSC is concerned, and it occurred in the year 2016. So we are going to analyze the questions that have been asked in this year. Okay. So the question is, write an essay on the growth of Buddhism and Buddhist art and architecture in Telangana region during the period of the Shatavahanas and Ikshvakus. See, they are asking about the Shatavahanas, they are asking about the Ikshvakus, and they are asking about the growth of the Buddhism and Buddhist art and architecture. This is a fairly straightforward question. Just you need to have 4 to 5 points on the Shatavahana's contribution in Buddhist architecture and the Ikshvaku's contribution. That's it. You should just elaborate these 5 points and your task is done. And add a few facts in it. And your task is done. So going forward, we will see how we can write the answers, and also I will give you the short notes, the crisp notes, which you can easily memorize and replicate in the examination. Always remember, mains is always about recollection. It's not about the content. With 20% of the content, you can write fantastic answers. If you look at the toppers' notes, like Anudip Durshetty sir's notes, he has cleared UPSC CSC with Air 1. Their notes are very crisp and concise on each and every topic. That's it. We need to have the conceptual clarity and 5 to 6 points under each topic, which you can easily elaborate. And for the second question, we need to understand the contribution of Shatavahanas for the development of literature with proper examples. That's it. Fairly straightforward question. So for any dynasty, for either Shatavahanas, Ikshvakus or Vishnukundins, we just have to look at the social, economic, cultural aspects, and in the cultural aspect, we should look at the language, literature, art and architecture. That's it. And we need to have a standard introduction, standard conclusion. With this, our task would be done for mains answer writing. Okay, so that's it. Let's dive into the Shatavahanas. So first, we will look at the origin of the word Telangana itself. Although it is not explicitly mentioned in the syllabus, but since we are preparing for Telangana State Public Service Commission, it is extremely important for us to understand how the word Telangana emerged. So if there is any question on Telangana or the origin of the Telangana word, generally the question won't come like this, but even if it comes, you can write the introduction as Telangana is a newly formed state. It was the 29th state when it is formed. Right now there are 28 states. Although Telangana is a newly formed state, but the concept of Telangana did exist even from the ancient times. You can write an opening statement like this, and you can quote that actually the word Telangana came from Trilinga Desha. Trilinga Desha means Desha means land or a state in which there are three important shrines. These three shrines are of Shaivite. For example, if we look at the Andhra Pradesh map, the erstwhile Andhra Pradesh map, it would be roughly like this. So in this map, you will find Srisailam here, which is in the Kurnool district, and Kaleshwaram here, which is actually Jayashankar Bhopalpalli district, and here you will find the Draksharamam in East Godavari district. So this land, so roughly the Telangana land, so this land is called as the Trilinga Desha. So this Trilinga Desha eventually came to be called as the Telangana. So this Trilinga Desha, it eventually called as the Telangana. And in the medieval times, the Muslims who have migrated to the Indian peninsula, they started calling the Telugu speaking areas as Telingas, and which eventually formed as Telangana. And just to know, the first word used as Telangana is in the Tellapur inscription. Tellapur is in the Sangareddy district currently. So you can use this, that the first inscription wherein the word Telangana used is the Tellapur inscription. And in the 16th century as well, a king from the Vijayanagara Empire, Sri Krishna Devaraya, at Tirumala inscription, the word Telangana is used. So with these points, you can write a generic answer about the Telangana as a concept. And if you want to conclude in the answer, you can write that Telangana suits well in the composite culture of India. Its pluralistic tinge is even seen in the geographical heritage which is given for the Ramappa site. And also recently in 2022, I guess, Honorable Prime Minister has praised, the textile work of a person who hails from the Telangana. I actually need to check out the person's name, but yes, you can suit Telangana into India's cultural diversity. Wherein Telangana has a composite culture. We have the Urdu language, the Hindi language, the Telugu people, and also we have people migrating from several provinces right from the ancient time till to the modern time. Thus you can write the land of Telangana is as the Ganga Jamuna Tehzeeb. Like that, like on that note, you can conclude. So this is what is the origin of the word Telangana. So let's dive into the main content. I would just walk you through my notes. Not everything in these notes is important to be memorized. I will just tell you what are the things which are to be remembered and where we can use it. So that's it. So from here we can see the predecessor of Shatavahanas was Kotilingala kingdom. It was annexed by the Mauryans. Eventually, when the Mauryan Empire started to disintegrate, the Shatavahanas emerged. This is just for the conceptual clarity. It is saying that before the Shatavahana Empire, there was a Kotilingala kingdom, and this Kotilingala kingdom was annexed to the Mauryan Empire. It means the Shatavahanas are ruling the land which was directly under the control of the Mauryans. And during the disintegration of the Mauryans, the Shatavahana as a separate kingdom has emerged. So this is not necessary for you to remember. This is just for the conceptual clarity. Here you see the origin of Shatavahanas was around 1st century BCE. Their capital was at Pratisthana or modern day Paitan in Maharashtra. So Shatavahanas ruled from the time period 1st century BCE to 1st century CE. This is the time period in which the Shatavahana has ruled, and their capital, their initial capital was at Pratisthana or Paitan. Later they have shifted their capital to Dhanyakataka. So this specific part, you can use it in the introduction. Wherever the question of Shatavahanas emerge, you just use it as an introduction. Just write that the origin of Shatavahanas was around the 1st century BCE and they ruled till the 1st century CE, and initially their capital was at Paitan. Later they have shifted their capital to Dhanyakataka. And wherever necessary, use this diagram. Shatavahana's empire ruled for approximately 450 years, and during the apex period of their empire, this is their geographical boundary. That's it. This serves as the introduction. Wherever the question of Shatavahanas come, just write this as an introduction. Remember, in the main, you need to have the predefined introduction and conclusion beforehand itself, so that you can save your time. That's it. Next, Puranas or Jain literature. Shatavahanas are Andhras. Basically, Shatavahanas comes under the ancient history, and in the ancient history, the genealogy of the kings is given in the Puranas. It is given in the Puranas and also in the Jain literature. They describe Shatavahanas as the Andhra people. That's it. You don't have to know anything extra, and you don't have to remember this. This is also just for the conceptual clarity. Next we will look at the early Shatavahanas. The early Shatavahanas were the weak rulers. They were not expansionists. They were limited only to their territory. Yeah, that's totally fine. Just for conceptual clarity. So you don't have to remember this thing as well. Just remember this. This is an important fact. The founder of Shatavahana dynasty was Simukha. This is a Prakrit term. During the Shatavahana period, Prakrit as a language was in vogue. It was prevalent because Prakrit was the language of the Mauryans, who were the masters of the Shatavahanas. So Prakrit was also the official language of the Shatavahanas. So the founder of Shatavahanas was Srimukha. You can also use this in the introduction, this particular part. That's it. And in the early Shatavahanas, the most important king was the Shatakarni I. He undertook the military expansion. He has defeated Kharavela king of Kalinga. Thus he annexed Kalinga to Shatavahana Empire. This is not important. This is just an example of his military expansion. This is not required in the mains. What is required in the mains is this. This particular part is extremely important. The inscription wala part. The Naneghat inscription of Nayanika. Who is Nayanika? She is queen of Shatakarni I. The Naneghat inscription called Shatakarni I as Dakshina Pratapati. And also the same inscription says that Shatakarni I performed the Ashwamedha Rajasuya sacrifices. Ashwamedha sacrifice is nothing but horse sacrifice. Rajasuya sacrifice is royal consecration ceremony. So basically, wherever if you want to quote that Shatavahanas performed the Brahminical sacrifices, you can quote this inscription, Naneghat inscription. You can write like, as per Naneghat inscription of Nayanika, Shatavahana performed these rituals and sacrifices. just to show that Shatavahanas had the Brahminical tinge. You need to know this particular fact. That's it. So you have the introduction for the Shatavahanas as it is here. You need to know the map of Shatavahana, and you need to know the founder of the Shatavahana, who is Srimukha, and you need to know about this inscription about Shatakarani 1. That's it. Next. The next important ruler in the early Shatavahan is the Kuntala Shatakarani. The Kuntala Shatakarani patronized two scholars. This fact is not important. He patronized two scholars. This is important. In the PYQs, we have seen they are asking about the literature. So this particular part is extremely important for us. In the reign of Kuntala Shatakarani, there was Gunadhya, was a Prakrit scholar. He wrote the book Brihat Katha, which means great narrative. This book consists of all the dramas. Remember, whenever there is a book which tells you about dramas, about poems, inherently that text describes about the socio-cultural aspect of that era, because dramas are written around the socio-cultural conditions of those times. So Brihat Katha explains us the socio-cultural aspects of Shatavahanas. So whenever you are writing about the society part of the Shatavahanas or the cultural part of the Shatavahanas, just quote briefly that as per Brihat Katha of the Gunadhya, these facts. Just you need to have these basic facts, so that your answer stands out. It will have some weightage. And remember, this Brihat Katha as a book is no longer existing. It is available to us in various episodes. Several other scholars have used the Brihat Katha as a reference, and they have written the books. From those references, we know Brihat Katha. That's it. And another important author during the time of Kuntala Shatakarani was Sharva Varman. Sharva Varman wrote Katantra Vyakarana. This is a Sanskrit grammar book. It means Sanskrit was prevalent during the time of the Shatavahanas. That's it. You need to know only these facts. And Kuntala Shatakarani made Prakrit as the official language of the Shatavahanas. Right. See, remember, Shatavahanas are from 1st century BCE to 1st century CE. During that time, Buddhism was prevalent. So, because of the influence of the Buddhism, Prakrit was made as the official language. Next, Hala. Hala is a scholarly king of the Shatavahanas. He wrote the book Gatha Sapta Sati. This also explains us the socio-cultural and religious conditions of Shatavahanas. So you can also quote this in the literature. This is written in the Prakrit language. It is written in the Prakrit language. So why Prakrit was continued as the official language? Because their masters, the Mauryans, were speaking in Prakrit. So the Shatavahanas continued the same tradition. Same goes with the Persians and the Mughals. The Delhi Sultanate followed the Persian language as their official language. The Tughlaqs continued the same tradition. Mughals continued the same tradition. Similarly, Mauryans had Prakrit as their language, so as Shatavahanas. For the administrative convenience, all the administrative structure before Shatavahanas was present in the Prakrit. So for administrative consequence, Prakrit was continued. And yes, the impact of Buddhism was huge during those times. And the queens were associated with Buddhism and Jainism. Remember, in Shatavahana dynasty, the kings, the male person, they were associated with the Brahmanism, and the queens were associated with the Buddhism. Because in Buddhism, both the male and female have equality. That's it. And why male persons who are the kings perform the Brahminical sacrifices? So that they show their authoritative position. show that the Brahmins proclaim that these persons were performing the religious rituals, sacrifices. They are the kings. In order to consolidate their authoritative position, the Shatavahana kings performed the Brahminical rituals and sacrifices. Next, geopolitical conflicts. What are geopolitical conflicts? The conflicts which are emerging for the geography. Geography in the sense what? The fertile lands, the doabs, etc. And why fertile lands are important? Because if there are fertile lands, there will be surplus agriculture. And with surplus agriculture, surplus revenue can be generated. With this revenue, the military can be established. Also remember, it is only because of this surplus agricultural produce that the manufacturing industry, the urban cities and towns will flourish. The trade will flourish. So fertile lands has huge importance. And also doabs. Doabs are also fertile lands. One of the greatest example of fight for the doabs is the Krishna Tungabhadra doab. It was the bone of contention between the Bahmani sultans and the Vijaya Nagara rulers. Okay. Shakas and Shatavahanas. The Shakas and Shatavahanas, they both were contemporary. They were fighting for the Gujarat coast. Why Gujarat coast? To get command over the foreign trade, so that from Gujarat coast we can send the foreign goods to the Arabian land, Central Asian land. That's it. Next, and most of the times Shakas won, because for Shakas it was the fight for survival. Because Shakas, although the Shatavahanas had lot of the coastal line, but for Shakas, Gujarat was extremely important for them because it has natural harbors as well. And the Shakas chief Nahapana, he defeated Shatakarni I, and in turn he got defeated by Gautamiputra Shatakarni. So what you have to remember here is there were geopolitical conflicts for the fertile lands and doabs, and especially for the Gujarat coast, between the Shakas and the Shatavahanas. That's it. Next, let's move to the later Shatavahanas. Let's see about Gautamiputra Shatakarni. Nasik Prashasti, or the Nasik inscription, says that Gautamiputra Shatakarni has following titles: Kshatriya Darpamana Mardana. It means one who crushed the ego of the Kshatriyas. Kshatriya means warrior clan. Darpamana Mardana means crushing of the ego. And also he has the title of Agama Nilaya, one who patronizes the Sanskrit scholars. Why I am telling you these things is, if at all any question comes briefly on the kings of the Shatavahanas specifically, or on the inscriptions of the Shatavahanas, like they can ask, how does the inscription of the ancient India reveal the socio-cultural conditions of the Shatavahanas? So you can write these inscriptions, just these 2 or 3 inscriptions. If you know, then you can easily write an answer around that. So Nasik Prashasti was done by his mother Gautami Balashri. As per this Prashasti, Gautamiputra Shatakarni gave huge donations to the Buddhists, and also he gave patronage to the Brahminism. He is also called as Eka Brahmana, and he is the one who patronized the Sanskrit scholars. What does this show? This shows one thing: religious tolerance. Religious tolerance was prevalent at those times. All these things show that. So whenever there is a context of religious tolerance, you can write this. As per Nasik Prashasti, Gautamiputra Shatakarni gave huge amount of donations to the Buddhists, although he was inclined towards Brahminism. This shows religious tolerance of those times. That's it. Next, Vashishtiputra Pulomavi. Junagadh inscription, which is the first Sanskrit inscription in India, talks about Vashishtiputra Pulomavi. It says that he was lost to the Rudradaman of the Shakas and shifted the capital to the Dhanyakataka. That's it, nothing else. And Gautamiputra Shatakarni conquered the entire South India. The Cholas, the Pandyas, the Cheras. That's it. You need to know only these things. So in the later Shatavahanas, you need to know only about the Gautamiputra Shatakarni and the Nasik Prashasti. That's it. Just you need to know one or two facts. You can easily write the answer around that. Next, let's come to the Shatavahana administration. You see, there is a difference between Mauryan administration and Shatavahana administration. The Mauryan administration was totally centralized. Especially during the Mauryan administration, Chanakya was the prime minister. He always believed in the centralization of power. So, he had huge amount of bureaucracy, because whenever the administration is centralized, you need huge amount of officers to look after the far away lands. So huge bureaucracy was present during the Mauryan administration, whereas during the Shatavahana administration, it was decentralized. And since it was decentralized, there were feudals. So feudalism emerged and bureaucracy was less. So the tradition of feudalism started during the Shatavahanas. It started with the donation of the lands to the officials, for the religious purposes, and the same continued during the times of the Guptas. In fact, during the time of Guptas, feudalism was extremely consolidated to the extent that we say that it was only during the Gupta times that feudalism was intensified. So nevertheless, feudalism was started during the time of the Shatavahanas. Next. And in the civil administration, there was a king, council of ministers, officers, and here are the names of few officers like Amatyas are called as revenue officers, Rajukas are in charge of revenue documents, Mahanayakas are judicial officers, Pratiharas are gatekeepers. The provinces were called as the Aharas, the districts are called as the Vishayas, the villages are called as the Gramas. See, question won't come on it, I'm telling you. I'm just giving you so that you will have a brief idea about the administration. And the divine origin of kingship theory emerged. King is considered as the representative of the god. You remember in the Mauryan administration, Ashoka was called as the Devanampiya Piyadasi. It means one dear to the gods. He is not claiming as god. He says that he is dear to the god. And when it comes to the Shatavahanas, they are saying that the kings are the direct representatives of the gods. When it comes to Kushanas or the Indo-Greeks, they say that they are the sons of the god. And when it comes to the Guptas, they say that they are the gods. They see themselves as the god. So that's how the divine origin of kingship theory is evolving. And revival of Brahminical sacrifices. During Mauryan times, this was not present. The Brahminical sacrifices and the rituals were absent during the Mauryan times. It came out during the time of the Shatavahanas. That's it. Revenue administration was based on the Dharma Shastras and Artha Shastra. Artha Shastra written by Kautilya, Chanakya. This book is famous even now. So remember how fantastic he must have been written that book. Tax was called as the Bhoga. Example, Raja Bhoga. These Dharma Shastra, Artha Shastra, both of them have been written in the Sanskrit. They prescribe that 1/4 of tax produce should be collected. But Shatavahanas collected only 1/6 of the produce. It means they were benevolent in nature. It means they were kind in nature. That's it. You need to know only this in the revenue administration, and in the political and civil administration, you need to know only these facts. That's it. Nothing much is required here. The actual component, the actual thing from where the question comes, it is this part. The society during the period of the Shatavahanas. So, we will see society from the terms of social stratification and position of the woman. So social stratification, caste was present. Yes, caste system was present because because the Shatavahana kings had the Brahminical tinge. They performed the ritual sacrifices, and so yes, the Chaturvarna system was present. But it was in the nascent stage. It was in the initial stage after the Mauryan Empire. It was not intense. So professional mobility was possible. It means a person from the lower caste can reach the higher caste. And why professional mobility was allowed? Because Buddhism and Jainism were still dominant during that time, and there were many foreign invaders. There were many foreign soldiers who came to India, who adopted the Indian tradition, who became Hinduized, and thus there is a need for them to give a separate caste. Thus professional mobility was allowed. So social stratification based on caste, yes. Professional mobility, yes, because of two reasons: domination of Buddhism and inflow of foreign traders. Next, position of women. Remember one thing clearly: all the Indian kings, almost all the dynasties, they were patriarchal in nature. That's it. They were patriarchal. Head of the family was male person. Throne went to the son. Sati was present, but this sati was not vigorously followed because of influence of Buddhism and Jainism. You see, slowly when we move from ancient history to medieval history, the social evils like the patriarchy, sati, polygamy, child marriage, all these things will be intensified because of decrease in the importance of Buddhism. Next, polygamy was present. It means a person can marry more than one woman. So in order to identify a particular son, he would be identified from the mother. Like for example, Shatakarni's name was Gautami Putra Shatakarni. Gautami is his mother's name. Pulomavi was a king of Shatavahana dynasty. His name was Vasishtha Putra Pulomavi. It means Vasishtha was the name of his mother. This tradition is called as metronymics. Metronymics was possible. The name of the son with the name of the mother, yes. Matrilineage, the lineage of a son or a person would be traced from the side of the mother, not from the side of the father. Child marriage was practiced, yes. You see, women were honored. Women were honored, yes. Higher education was accessible. Participation in the religious functions. This is present only for the higher caste women, not for the lower caste women. All the social evils like sati, child marriage, all these things were limited only to the lower caste women. Because in the higher caste woman, when the higher caste woman was getting married, the family from the bridal side, they gave there was a practice of giving the stridhana. This stridhana is a wealth given to the daughter when she was getting married. This is not same as the dowry, because dowry, when it is given, it belongs to the family of the groom. The stridhana, it belongs to the female only. She can sell whenever she wants. So stridhana is not equivalent to dowry. Okay. Next, as I have said, the queens were totally inclined towards Buddhism and Jainism, whereas the kings, they were inclined towards Brahmanism. So queens donated a lot of lands to Buddhism, Jainism. Example, Vasishti and Gautami Balashri. Okay. So when it comes to the social conditions, you have to write these things: social stratification, caste system, professional mobility, yes, because of two reasons: domination of Buddhism and inflow of foreign traders. And position of women, patriarchal society, social evils like sati, polygamy, child marriage was followed. High caste women were honored. They were having access to education because of stridhana, and lower caste women were relegated to vulnerable situation. And queens donated lands to Buddhism and Jainism. That's it. That's it. That's it. Social conditions come to an end. Next, intercaste marriages were allowed. You don't have to know these things. Already enough content is present with us for social conditions. Next, economic conditions. Whenever you read about economic conditions, read it like this: primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector. Primary sector, agriculture. Yes, agriculture economy was dominant in nature, totally dominant during the time of Shatavahanas, because the Shatavahana kingdom has the Krishna and Godavari basins in them, which was actually a rice bowl of those times. And there were a lot of efforts to improve the agriculture, like the construction of the canals, construction of the tanks, construction of several other irrigation channels. This is so whenever we write this point in the mains, just substantiate it with the Nasik inscription. Nasik inscription says that Gautami Putra Shatakarni have dug up 3 tanks in the modern Maharashtra. That's it. Just substantiate it. When it comes to industries, because of surplus agricultural production, industry was flourishing. Just name few manufacturing industry like potters, weavers, oil makers, etc. Guilds were present. Guilds can be considered as the association of professionals. You can consider them as the modern day pressure groups. They will form a union association. They will fix a particular rate, and the goods will be sold only on that rate only. Guilds are formed to remove the unhealthy competition. To remove unhealthy competition, guilds are formed. Next, trade. Both internal trade, external trade were fantastic. They were going on properly. External trade was with the Central Asia, with the Roman Empire, yes. And balance of trade, it means the exports were more when compared to the imports. We were exporting cotton, yes. Muslin was extremely famous. Textiles, silk and cotton textiles, yes. We were exporting the spices, yes. In fact, we were even exporting the ivory as well. And imports, we were importing the wine glass and all those things. Because the Mediterranean climate was prevalent for citrus fruits, so we have imported wine from the Roman Empire and from the Central Asia. We have found gold and silver coins, which shows that external trade was present. So this ends our economy part. Economy during the time of Shatavahanas. It includes the agriculture, the industries, the internal and external trade. That's it. Now let's go to the culture. In the culture, first we'll look at the religious condition. See, early Shatavahanas were associated with Jainism. Srimukha, who was the founder of the Shatavahana dynasty, he had the Jainism tinge with him. He built the basadis. Basadis are nothing but the educational centers of the Jain people. Like for Islam people, it is madrasa. For Hindus, it was temples and gatikas. For Buddhists, it was viharas. For Jains, it was basadis. Right. Next, royal women patronized the heterodox religion and gave several land grants to them. Because Buddhism propagated the equality. That's it. Buddhism spread rapidly under the Shatavahanas. Remember, this is a unique point. Because although Brahmanism was supported by the kings, but Buddhism, it was supported by the queens. So it was rapidly spreading. Next, Brahminical religion was present. Revival of Brahminical institutions like the caste system, Chaturvarna system present. Sacrifices were done. Remember, sacrifices were done. Who conducted the sacrifice? We have said previously. Shatakarni 1. Shatakarni 1 conducted the sacrifices. Where we have read this? In the Naneghat inscription by Nayanika. Naneghat inscription, it says that Shatakarni 1 performed the Ashwamedha Rajasuya sacrifices. This is how you connect, and you just put these things here. So that your answer gets huge amount of weightage. Next, Brahmins were given the highest position and land donations to the Brahmins started. These land donations were called as the Agraharas. Agrahara is nothing but a land donation given to the Brahmin. From these lands, taxes did not go to the king. It went directly in the hands of the Brahmins. Now with this, what happens? The agricultural land expands. The land under plow expands. Because whenever the lands will be given, the Agraharas will be given to the Brahmins. The Brahmins induced, they have preached their tribals to settle down, to perform agriculture, and only such lands were given as the agraharas to the Brahmins. So agraharas led to the increase in agricultural land, because the tribals were asked to settle down and perform the agriculture by the Brahmins, right? Next, Shaivism, Vaishnavism were prevalent. Okay. So when it comes to religion, remember, Jainism was followed by early kings, royal women patronized Buddhism, and kings patronized the Brahminism. Sacrifices were performed. Shatakarni one performed the sacrifices which is mentioned in the Naneghat inscription, and there were agraharas given. That's it. Also, in one of the inscription, it is said that the Gautamiputra Shatakarni is revered as a king who has restored the Varna order in the society. So, Varna system, caste system, Brahminical system, rituals, sacrifices, they were given huge amount of importance. Next, cultural conditions. We will look at the Prakrit. We will look at the literature. Remember, whenever you write about the literature, first quote what was the official language of that region, of that dynasty. During the time of Shatavahanas, it was the Prakrit language. Prakrit language was made as the official language. It was made by Kuntala Shatakarni. And most of the inscriptions were written in the Prakrit language. So, if someone asks the question on the Buddhist art and the literature, you should write about the Prakrit literature, because Prakrit literature is Buddhist literature. Next, Halakin, we have read that he has written the Gatha Saptasati, which talks about the socio-economic conditions. It is also written in Prakrit. And during the time of Kuntala Shatakarni, he has patronized two important poets, Gunadhya and Sharva Varman. Gunadhya, we have read that he is a Prakrit scholar. He has written the book Brihat Katha. It is a book of the dramas. It is a book of the dramas. And Brihat Katha talks about the socio-economic conditions. And Sharava Varman, he wrote a book, Katantra Vyakarana, the Sanskrit grammar book. That's it. Next, during the time of the Shatavahanas, Kama Sutra came out. It was written by Vatsyayana. It talks about eroticism. And this is a Sanskrit book. And what is the philosophical foundation of this eroticism? It says that it talks about bodily consciousness. That's it, nothing else. But our Hinduism says that the Sanatana Dharma says that we have to go beyond this bodily consciousness. We have to seek the inner self, the inner soul. So that is what it is. Next, there was a book written by Somadeva, which is Katha Sarit Sagara. Whenever you write about the religious conditions, just quote one point that the religious conditions of the Shatavahanas is mentioned in the Katha Sarit Sagara, written by Somadeva. It is also written in Sanskrit language. Next, you can look at the Jain literature as well. It was written by Hemachandra, the Jain scholar. The book name is Parishishta Parvan. In this book, several sects of Jainism were elaborated. And this book talks about that Chandragupta Maurya has performed the Salekhana at Shravana Belagol. What is Salekhana? Salekhana is a fast unto death performed by the king during his old age. So that's it. Whenever the question comes on the literature, write about the Prakrit literature. Say that there are many inscriptions in the Prakrit literature. First, quote that Prakrit is the official language. We have enumerated 3 reasons why Prakrit is an official language. First reason is it was an official language of the Mauryaas. Second important reason is for the administrative convenience. The third important reason is that there was the prevalence and dominance of the Buddhism. That's it. Next, talk about the Gatha Saptasati, socio-economic conditions, and talk about Gunadhyam. That's it. Buddhist literature here, Jainese literature, talk about the Parishishta Parvan, Sanskrit literature, talk about the Kama Sutra, Katha Sarit Sagara, and Sharva Varman's Katantra Vyakaran. So, Sanskrit, Jain, and Buddhist literature were prevalent during the time of the Shatavahanas. That's it. Art and architecture. See, during the time of Shatavahanas, there were Chaityas, Viharas, and Stupas. Why? Because Buddhism was prevalent. And there were rock-cut caves. In the rock-cut caves, we had the Karle caves, the Nasik caves, and the Bhaja caves. All these caves, whenever you want to show the rock-cut caves, just draw the India map like this and show Western Ghats here. Here you find many caves like the Karle caves, like the Bhaja caves, etc. The Bhaja caves had the woolen ceiling. The Karle caves, it is highly developed cave. It has pillared hall in it. The Karle cave, it is very famous. And also it has the rooftop carvings as well. That's it. Whenever you talk about art and architecture of the Shatavahanas, you say that Buddhism was prevalent and there were rock-cut caves. Just show this map. That's it. That's it. And write special characteristics of the Karle caves. Like there was a pillared hall, there was a rooftop. That's it. Next, the sculpture was present. Sculpture. Images of Buddha, Jain Tirthankaras, Hindu gods and goddesses were present. The Amaravati school of art was present. It was secular in nature. And Amaravati, and write about the Amaravati stupa at the Nagarjuna Kunda. In the Nagarjuna Kunda, there is an Amaravati stupa built by the Shatavahanas. It depicts the scenes from the life of the Buddha. Beautiful scene showing Buddha's feet being worshipped. Yes. Panchashilaka style of sculpture. It means one stone slab, it contains 5 scenes. Like scene 1 here, scene 2, scene 3, scene 4, scene 5. What are these scenes? These scenes are nothing but the Jataka tales. Jataka tales in the Buddhism. In these Jataka tales, initially Buddha was shown as the symbolic. It means he was depicted using the throne, using the lotus flower. Later Buddha was shown in the human form. It means when it was symbolic, there was dominance of Hinayana. When it was human, there was the dominance of Mahayana. And remember, by 1st century CE, Mahayana was dominant. And all these sculptures showed Buddha as the human form from that time. That's it. So whenever the question comes on the architecture of the Shatavahanas, write about the rock-cut architecture. Say that Buddhism was prevalent. So there were many Chaityas, many Viharas. There were sculptures as well. Amaravati school of sculpture developed. And write the example of the Bhaja caves, Nasik caves, Karle caves. Draw this diagram and write about the specialization of the Karle caves. It has pillared hall. It has rooftop carvings. It has Viharas that contain several inscriptions. Viharas were used as the inscription. Example, Nasik Prashasti or the Nasik inscription by Gautami Balashri about Gautami Putra Shatakarni is present on the Vihara itself. Right. Remember, there were no rock-cut temples. There were no rock-cut temples. Even if they were not prominent. And definitely there were no structural temples. Structural temples, rock-cut temples were not so prevalent. But yes, they were there in very less amount. So don't consider it as belonging to the Shatavahana period. That's it. Next, post-Shatavahanas. The disintegration of Shatavahanas took place and the feudatories emerged. Ikshvakus, Vishnukundins, Vakatakas. Ikshvakus, Vishnukundins are the dynasties which ruled for a brief period of time over the Telangana region. right? So when we go for the Ikshvakus, we see that there are two capitals for Ikshvakus. Initially it was Vijayapuri, later it was shifted to the Dhanyakatakas. And the sources of knowledge about the Ikshvakus come from the Elephanta Island inscription and the Nagarjuna inscription. Whenever you see Nagarjuna, remember that it is the site of the Buddhism. It means if it is a site of the Buddhism, it will have the inscriptions patronized by the queens of those times. That's it. So you can write that whenever you are quoting about any fact about the queens, about the society, just write that in the Nagarjuna site we found many inscriptions wherein the queens were giving lot of land, land grants and lands for the spirit of the Buddhism. And Nagarjuna inscription also talks about the political history of the Ikshvakus. That's it. These are the few facts. If you remember, it will be good. But the question don't come directly on it. Question comes from the society, art and architecture, language, literature, economic and social conditions, which we have seen for the Shatavahanas, which we will also see for the Ikshvakus. Next, this is the time period 225 AD to 300 AD. For 75 years on the Telugu speaking territories, the Ikshvakus ruled. And this is as per the Puranas, because we know in the ancient Indian history, Puranas gave the genealogy of the kings, right? And who was the founder of Ikshvaku dynasty? Vasishthiputra Sri Shantamula. So all the data from here, from the capitals, from the sources, from the timeline, from the founder, you can use wherever you want in the introduction. These are meant to serve the purpose of the introduction. That's it. Next, the political victories of the Shantamula, the founder, Vasishthiputra Sri Shantamula, is written in these inscriptions. It also shows that he has performed the rituals and sacrifices for the spread of Brahminism. You can quote this in the religion, that Ikshvaku kings also performed the Brahminical sacrifices. You can quote these inscriptions. There was revival of the Brahminism. Yes, see, revival of the Brahminism after the Mauryan period took place during the time of the Shatavahanas, and this Brahminism got consolidated during the time of the Ikshvakus. And there was rapid decline in Buddhism. Yes, as time progresses from here on, Buddhism will fall down, because many divisions came within the Buddhism and Jainism, like the Hinayana, Mahayana, Vajrayana, all those things. That's it. And as shown in the Shatavahanas, metronymics continued. It means the tradition of naming the son with naming the prefix of the son with the name of the mother, it was followed. If metronymics are present, it means definitely polygamy would be prevalent, no doubt in that. Next, land grants were given to the Brahmins rigorously. Yes, Ikshvakus were typically lovers of the Shaivism, and they had official language as the Prakrit language, and they also followed the religious tolerance like their masters. Next, just note one or two points about some of the kings, so that you can quote them wherever you want. Your answer will get that added advantage. Like Mathari Putra Sri Veera Purushadatta, he was the only ruler who was in the favor of Buddhism, and he himself got converted into Buddhism and called as Ashoka of South India. He built many chaityas, viharas. That's it. And Vasishthiputra Sri Ihuvala Shantamula, he built many temples. One of them is Pushpa Bhadra Swami temple. Remember one thing, whenever you are writing in the religious conditions, you will write that Ikshvakus are lovers of Buddhism. They have constructed many Shiva temples. You give this as an example. Pushpa Bhadra Swami temple by Vasishthiputra Sri Ihuvala Shantamula. And also remember one more important thing. This is extremely important. Ikshvakus are the first to construct the Hindu temples in India, but these temples are not surviving. The first surviving temples are built by the Guptas. That's it. We will look at the socio-economic, religious and cultural conditions of the Vishnu Kundins and Ikshvakus together, because they have ruled only for a brief period of time, so not much significant contributions are present, so that we could differentiate between Vishnu Kundins and Ikshvakus. Right, we will take them together. First, we'll look at Vishnu Kundins. Their initial capital was at Kisaragutta. Just remember this one thing, that's it. And the sources of their knowledge is from Kisaragutta inscription. It gives us the political history of Vishnu Kundins, how Vishnu Kundins came to power. And it also talks about the Puranas, the Vayu Purana, which gives us the early history of Vishnu Kundins. That's it. And the founder of Vishnu Kundins is Indravarman I. Next, we will move to the Madhava Varman. Just have this example with you, that Madhava Varman II was a staunch Shaivite. He constructed the Dantamukha Swami temple, the Lord Ganesha temple. That's it. Okay, now remember one thing. The Telugu speaking territories were first initially ruled by the Shatavahanas, next Ikshvakus, Vishnu Kundins and Western Chalukyas for a brief period, then for the Kakatiyas for a quite a long period of time, next Qutub Shahis and Nizams. These kingdoms are of extreme importance for us as far as TGPSC is concerned. On these three, generic questions will come. Okay, next, let's look at the socio-cultural conditions during the time of Ikshvakus and the Vishnu Kundins. Chaturvarna system was followed. Yes, definitely followed, because their masters, Shatavahanas, were following, so it has been inherited. But the Chaturvarna system became intensified. During the time of the Shatavahanas, the Chaturvarna system was in the light manner. Now it became intensified, because Brahmanism was starting to consolidate from here onwards. And the emergence of subcastes based on profession came. These subcastes based on profession, these were not prevalent during the time of Shatavahanas. Intense caste-based discrimination was not followed during the time of the Shatavahanas. We have read that during the time of the Shatavahanas, professional mobility was seen. Why? Because of three reasons we have seen. First reason is that the dominance of the Buddhism. Second reason is that the inflow of the lot of foreign traders. And the third reason is that because of many agraharas, because of many land grants to the Brahmins, many tribals emerged as the agriculturalists, and they have to fit into some caste or the other. So caste system was not so rigid. But during the time of Ikshvakus and Vishnu Kundins, caste system became highly rigid. Subcastes emerged based on profession. And going forward, you will see during the time of Kakatiyas, the subcastes based on the region also emerged. Like in one region, if there is one profession, it belonged to one subcaste, and in another region, the same profession belonged to other subcaste. Thus, during the time of Kakatiyas, it got further consolidated. That subcastes came based on the profession and also based on the region. Next. Even Brahmins, okay, you can quote that in the subcaste, you can quote about Brahmins. There was Totriya Brahmins who limited themselves only for the performance of the rituals and sacrifices. There were Niyoga Brahmins who performed the secular professions, like working in the court of the king as the document writer, as the document keeper, like that. Document writers. They were indulged in the secular professions, Niyoga Brahmins. Stotriya Brahmins in the rituals and sacrifices. See in Niyoga Brahmin there is N. N means neutral. So just understand that they were neutral Brahmins. It means they have conducted themselves in the secular profession. So you can remember like this. This is a shortcut kind of thing. By the time of Kakatiyas, these subcastes, they got even more consolidated. Okay, next, position of women. Same, whatever was present in the Shatavahanas, exactly cut, copy, paste. It was patriarchal society. Throne of the kingdom went to the son. Male person was the head of the family. High caste women, respectable position because of Sridhana. low caste women in inhumane position. Evils were practiced: child marriage, sati, miserable condition of widow, and polygamy. Same, exactly same. Position of women, exactly same. And the societal conditions are also exactly same. The difference comes in the subcastes. The caste system became intensified. The subcastes have been emerged. This is only difference. Next, economy. There was agrarian economy, no doubt in that, yes. And because of the agraharas, huge amount of agraharas, lot of agricultural land came under the plough, and these agraharas had the tax exemption as it was present during the time of the Shatavahanas. And the same industries were present as they were present in the Shatavahanas, like the potters, oil makers, the goldsmiths, blacksmiths, ornament makers. That's it. Foreign trade was absent. During the time of Shatavahanas, there was dominant foreign trade. But during the time of Vishnu Kundins and Ikshvakus, there was no foreign trade. Why? Because they were not so strong kingdoms. They were always indulged into the conflicts. And they had lesser amount of influence over the coastal regions. So they had no foreign trade. In total, we can understand that during the time of the Shatavahanas, economy was prospering. During the time of Ikshvakus and Vishnu Kundins, the economy was not so prosperous. And the internal trade was conducted using the seashells during the time of Vishnu Kundins and cowries during the time of Ikshvakus. This is not an important fact. Just understand that the foreign trade and internal trade were not so prevalent. Next, cultural conditions. We'll see the literature. See, remember one thing. Separate question on Ikshvakus and Vishnu Kundins won't come. If the question comes in a combined manner. Why? Because Ikshvakus, Vishnu Kundins, they have ruled only for a brief period of time over Telangana region. So separate question won't be asked. Okay? Question will be asked in a combined manner, and you have the ready-made content I am giving you here. Just remember this and write it in the examination, because you will not have the time to recollect. You can only and only write whatever you have internalized in the mains examination. You don't have the privilege of sitting there and recollecting things. Just you have to memorize and you have to go and write. That's it. Next, literature. Sanskrit. It was official language of Vishnu Kundins. It shows that the Vedic religion was increasing in prominence, right from the Shatavahanas to Ikshvakus to Vishnu Kundins. Prakrit was the official language of Shatavahanas and Ikshvakus, as we have seen. And to quote that, the Sanskrit literature flourished. You can quote this one, Agnisthoma Shastra, where there were rituals and sacrifices written in this Shastra. And when we are talking about the rituals and sacrifices, we will be talking about the Stotriya Brahmins, not about the Niyoga Brahmins. That's it. Next, Janashara Chando Vichitti, book written by Madhava Varman II. Also remember, Madhava Varman is the person who has constructed a temple. Remember that thing? Madhava Varman constructed a temple, Dantamukha Swami temple here, Shaivite. He also wrote the book Janashara Chando Vichitti. It is the first Sanskrit book containing Telugu words. That's it. Remember these two books in Sanskrit. And in the Prakrit, remember this thing, Samaya Sara Vichitti, written by the Bhava Viveka. It talks about contributions of winds to the Ikshvakus and Vishnu Kundins. That's it. Nothing else. And whatever we have read about religion in the Shatavahanas applies here as well. But the fact is that here there is a dominance of the Shaivism and the Vaishnavism. The dominance of the Buddhism is reduced. And we have already discussed about the religious conditions. We have said that the Ikshvakus and the Vishnu Kundins, they are religiously tolerant. And Shaivism was prominently followed in the times of the Ikshvakus. And we have also seen that during the time of Vishnu Kundins, there were many temples as well. You see, I will show you here. Here we have the Here we have the religious condition, revival of Brahminism, and the lands were rigorously donated to the Brahmins, and there was practice of the Shaivism. You can just extract these points and you can just quote it there. And we have also seen that Mathari Putra Sri Veera Purusha Datta, he is called the Ashoka of South India. He is inclined towards Buddhism. And Vasishti Putra Sri Ihuvala Shantamula, he has constructed the Pushpa Bhadra Swami temple. You can just extract this point and just write answer around it. That's it. Our main aim is to have as much crisp content as we can. Only that person excels through the examination in the means. Next, in the art and architecture. Remember one thing. Ikshvakus had the structural temples. Vishnu Kundins had the rock-cut cave temples. For the rock-cut cave temple, we can draw this broad diagram. We can give this example, Ananta Shayana temple at Guntur. And as far as sculptures are concerned, we have the Shaivism sculpture, Parvatiya sculpture, Goddess of Hariti sculpture, Goddess of Prosperity, Vishnu Kundins women worshipped. It means women were also revered. You can write that women had also respectable position because the Goddess of Hariti, the Goddess of Prosperity or Fertility, was worshipped during Vishnu Kundins times. Sculpture of Buddha was present at Nagarjuna Konda. Wherever Buddhism you will find Nagarjuna Konda in South India. That's it. In the art and architecture, you just quote these sculptures: Shaivism, Vaishnavism, Varaha sculpture, Goddess of Hariti, which shows the reverence to the woman, Goddess of Fertility during the time of Vishnu Kundins, sculpture of Buddha at Nagarjuna Konda. And in the architecture, rock-cut cave temples during the time of Vishnu Kundins, Ananta Shayana temple, and the structural temple during the time of Ikshvakus. That's it. With this, our ancient Telangana history comes to an end. You see, however the question may come, you can easily write the answer. Easily. No doubt about it. As we have seen in the previous, you can see he's talking about the Buddhist art and architecture in Telangana region during Shatavahanas and Ikshvakus. You can very well write this answer. Whenever you get the question of art, you can write in it the sculpture as well. Okay? And the contribution of Shatavahanas for the development of literature, you see. You can write many things here for the development of literature. You can write that Kuntala Shatakarni was the person who made Prakrit as official language during the time of Shatavahanas. And he patronized the two scholars, Gunadhya, who was a Prakrit scholar, who wrote the Brihat Katha, which is a great narrative, which is a dramatic book, which shows about the socio-cultural conditions. He also patronized the Sharvavarman. He wrote the Katantra Vyakarana, which is Sanskrit literature, which is the Sanskrit grammar book. Thus, both these literature were prevalent, Sanskrit and Prakrit. You can quote about the Kama Sutra by Vatsyayana. You can quote about the book written by the Somadeva. You can quote about the book written by the Hala, which is Gatha Saptasati, which also writes about the socio-cultural conditions. And the book written by Somadeva, Katha Sahit Sagara, which talks about the religious conditions during the time of Shatavahanas. You can quote that. You have many examples. You have many literature. You can write answer around it easily. And for the growth of Buddhism and Buddhist art and architecture in the Shatavahanas and Ikshvakus, you can quote about the Chaityas, Viharas. You can quote about the Bhaja caves, Karli caves, Nasik caves during the times of the Shatavahanas. You can quote about the Amaravati sculpture during the time of the Shatavahanas. And you can quote that in the Nagarjuna Konda there were many Buddhist sculptures found during the time of Ikshvakus. You can quote about the Mathari Putra Sri Veera Purusha Datta, who was called as the Ashoka of the South India. He was the Ikshvaku king. You can quote about the sculptural marvels which is present in the Chaitya caves. Like that, you can quote many things. You can quote many things. You can quote that in the Viharas were used for the inscriptions and all. You can quote that Nasik inscription or Nasik Prashasti by Gautami Balashri regarding Gautami Putra Shataka. Like this, you can on and on. My intent is, with the content I have given you, with the content that I have roughly gone you through, you can write any damn answer. Any damn answer in Shatavahanas you can write. I'm telling you. See what question will come. Question will come on the Shatavahanas or Ikshvakus or Vishnu Kundins based on which parameters? Based on society, you can write. Based on economy, you can write. And whenever the question comes on society, just think about social stratification, position of women. Whenever the question comes on economy, think about the primary sector, secondary sector, and the tertiary sector, which is agriculture, industry, and trade. In the trade, internal trade and external trade. And whenever the question comes on religion, think that whenever we are moving from the Shatavahanas and from Shatavahanas to Ikshvakus, the Buddhism is reducing and Brahmanism is rising in significance. You can write anything. And you can write in the literature as well. You can write in art and architecture. You can write many things. So that is all it is. And in the end, in the end, I will also write a demo answer in front of you. How we can write the answers. We will see it. And also we have the ready-made content for the introduction and conclusion for the Shatavahanas. If at all you go blank during the writing of the conclusion, just write that with the dissenting. If at all you're writing the Shatavahana question, and in the conclusion you write that Shatavahanas, the Shatavahana dynasty contributed significantly towards the cultural heritage of India, eventually with its disintegration, Ikshvakus and Vishnu Kundins emerged. That's it. Just go futuristic in time. That's it. See, just have this content, read it 5 to 6 times, and start writing answers, and you will see the change. That's it. That's all from my side, guys. So with this, our ancient Telangana history came to an end. That's it. Thank you, guys. Let's go to the next video.